Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Clementine here, and I know last time I said it was going to be my last Overwatch related video, but I really wanted to make another one today just talking about how I think the game could improve in some ways and maybe even come back after the major deficit it's had in the last couple months. I really do think Overwatch can still be a competitor or even just overpass Marvel Rivals as the big hero shooter that we all used to love. But before we get into all that, I do ask that you like and subscribe on this video as I am trying to hit 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. And if we do hit that goal, I will be doing a 24-hour live stream challenge of Marvel Rivals, or maybe Overwatch if the game becomes fun again. I don't know. But with that all being said, let's get back to the video. The first thing I think that Overwatch can implement to revitalize their game is to have more interesting and more well-connected characters. The last couple characters that we've had, like Alari, Juno, Lifeweaver, and Hazard, they kind of don't do anything. They're just new characters. They don't add anything to the story. They don't really add a whole lot of new established lore to the story. I know Hazard has like a new group he's with, like the Freaks, but Alari, she kind of just exists. Like, she's not a Overwatch person. She's not a evil like Talon character. She just kind of exists from like Peru or whatever. And Juno again is a new part of the lore from the Moon base or wherever, the Mars base. I don't remember. I don't remember. I used to be so like enveloped in the story of Overwatch, and I don't remember any of these characters. They're so forgettable to me. They're just empty slates. There's no like actual depth to any of their characters. And I know that they have potential to make these well-written characters that have a good amount of depth and a good amount of story to them, because we've had tanks like Ramatra and Mauga who both add a lot to the story of the game. Ramatra being the leader of Null Sector, being a major part of the PvE, which I'll come back to later, and Mauga having a lot of story content relating to Talon, relating to Baptiste. There's a lot of interconnecting like conversation between Sombra and him, talking about Baptiste. There's a lot of like depth and a lot of substance to these characters and to the story that they provide that we just don't really see. Like what does Hazard do? Is Hazard like a good guy? I'm pretty sure Hazard like doesn't like Overwatch, but he also doesn't like Talon. I just like, what does he do? What is his purpose in the story? Is he just like a guy who just like doesn't like the system? Like, what's his whole MO, man? The problem with making so many new characters that are supposed to establish new corners of the Overwatch world is the fact that these characters, they don't get any follow-up once they're released. Once Alari dropped and she got her map, that was kind of it. There was no like follow-up about any of the things she went through afterwards. There's like some conversations she has with Doomfist about maybe wanting to join Talon, but I mean, that's it. We don't really know what her motives are. We don't know what she wants to do. We don't know if her goals are to restore the world or to maybe envelop into that dark side of her. Like, there's nothing to her character, and it's so like devastating to see that these like beautifully written characters, they have such good motives. Some of them, again, I don't know what the fuck Hazard does, but they have such good potential. They have such like well-written beginnings, but there's no middle and there's no end. It just kind of stops once they're released. And because Overwatch has given up on every other form of storytelling, the only way these characters are able to develop and have new kind of emotions is through pre-match dialogue between certain characters. So if you're not even playing the correct heroes at the time, you probably won't even know what these characters are up to. So it's like what are we doing? One really bad example I have for this is the fact that leading up to Overwatch 2, there was a series of comic books about Cassidy going around the world and recruiting 4 different heroes. He recruited Baptiste, Zarya, Diva, and Pharah. And we don't get any payoff to this until one of the cutscenes from the scrapped PvE mode, where it shows everyone in Watchpoint Gibraltar and they're all meeting up for the first time again, and it's great. But if you're just a new player who's only really focused on the gameplay and like doesn't reach out to any of the comic books that they don't even advertise. I don't think they ever advertise these comics at all. But if you didn't know this story, you just see these characters show up in this room and you're like, oh, okay, I guess Diva's here, and oh, look, Baptiste and Pharah. Oh, I thought Pharah was okay. I didn't know where she was, and I don't like what was happening. Why is everyone here now? It's such a confusing mess when you have such disconnected like pieces of the story being told in so many different ways, and none of it is cohesive. None of it is. If Overwatch decided to just stick to comics, or to stick to cinematics, or to stick to just one piece of media in which they convey their fucking story, I think a lot of people would appreciate the story, or just appreciate the fact that it's a fucking game in general. There's not a lot of planning that looks like it's going into this. It just looks like there's 4 different people in a room and they're all given a different task, and there's like a loose thread that they all have to follow. It just looks like a fucking high school project, you know what I mean? There's no professionalism within this, and it really sucks. We already know that the planned TV show that was going to be on Netflix ended up getting canceled due to some contracting issues, But that doesn't mean to just give up on the story as a whole. There was still a lot of, you could do it through PvE, again, you could do it through the comic books. It just seems like they gave up once they heard the first no, instead of just trying to figure out, okay, if we can't do a TV show, or if we can't do this, how do we convey our story? How do we make this an interesting and complex universe? Because they have like 40 characters, 40 playable characters, about like 60 or 70 non-playable ones that they can just use and make a beautifully told story that they just decide to not do anything with. Now, to go along with the non-existent storytelling of this game, there comes the issue of the scrapped PvE mode. When I first opened the game and I saw that the missions tab was moved from one of the main 4 core game modes and put into the side where all the hero mastery stuff was, I knew it was cooked. It was really heartbreaking to me, because I'm really enveloped in the story, and the team, they just gave, I don't know what they did, but we got the 3 missions, we got the cinematic where Sombra and Widowmaker are creeping up on Zenyatta, and lights out. There was nothing else, no follow-up, no comic book, no cinematic on YouTube, just, hey guys, we scrapped the content, LOL. Now, not only was this a blow to the storytelling, but it was a blow to the game in general, as the PvE was one of the most hyped up elements of Overwatch 2, because that was the whole reason it was Overwatch 2. So, seeing the fact that it not only was lackluster, but it ended up getting scrapped after 3 like 20-minute missions, that was awful. Now, for me personally, I wasn't really that excited for the PvE. I knew a lot of people were, but I'm not a very PvE kind of person. There's a lot of story games I like, but if I'm playing like Call of Duty, I'd want to play Call of Duty. I don't want to play zombies. It's just not who I am as a gamer. But I know a lot of people were, and I don't want to talk about the could'ves or the should'ves or the what had to have happened. But I think that if Overwatch decided to keep doing these 3 mission packs, releasing them for around $10, $15, a lot of people would still buy them, and a lot of people would still enjoy it, just because they're getting that story content, and they're getting just more content to do other than just grinding ranked, which, yeah, that really does get repetitive when every single game you're getting Mercy, Lifeweaver, Wrecking Ball. It's like, it's annoying. Now, what I really did like about that 3 mission pack was the fact that they gave you a free Sojourn skin once you finished the 3 missions. And I'm pretty sure you were able to get at least like $5 worth of your Overwatch credits back. So not only were you getting the missions, but you were getting some credits and a Sojourn skin. And if they kept releasing the packs like that, keeping it at that $15 price point, you get the 3 packs, some extra credits, and a skin for whatever hero is available at that time, I think a lot of people would still be okay with that, just because they're getting actual content, not just being left in the dust, just wondering, oh, are we getting an actual update that isn't just a character with just reused abilities? Like, are we getting something new, please? Also, all the archive missions are still unplayable right now. You can't play any of the Rialto or the Blackwatch missions. I don't know why they aren't just also with the mission tab, like as like a free section or something, but those are just unused content just sitting in fucking limbo right now that a lot of people would love to play. So not only are we not getting any future storytelling or like present tense storytelling within the in-game universe, but we're not getting any gameplay of the past, like any of the story missions that led up to where we are now. We're just expected to know what's going on, I guess, and then also like just drop everything because nothing else is gonna happen. Also, I don't know. When you have an ensemble cast as large as Overwatch and as deep as Overwatch, and you do nothing with it, of course the community is gonna be in a fucking uproar all the time about it, because you have so much, and I do mean so much potential, and you're just not doing anything with it. It's so lame to be a fan of Overwatch, because you can't really be a fan of anything because they're not releasing anything. Now, story and PvE content aside, I really want to talk about the major issue that is plaguing Overwatch right now, and that is the balancing. When I hop into a game of Overwatch, there's nothing that fills me more with rage than seeing my supports auto-lock onto Mercy, onto Lifeweaver, watching my DPS lock onto Sombra. Just these useless characters who don't add any value to the game anymore, because the devs have just neutered these characters to just like shells of what they used to be. A lot of these characters in game, I'm going to focus on Mercy here, have been dumbed down just for the average player to be able to pick them up and put out a lot of value with them. And not only does that ruin the character's identity, but it just ruins the game as a whole, because you're taking the skill floor and you're fucking digging a hole and just seeing how far you can take this skill floor deep into the fucking Earth's core. These characters are fuck ass easy, and there's no point into not playing them if you're unskilled, because you can get so much value out of them. In lower ranks, they're played with Mercy players, with Life Weaver players, with characters who are just auto-locking aim, the characters where you don't have to put in any mental effort, but you get so much value out of them, and that just ruins the game at a higher level. I first started playing Overwatch on console, and learning the Mercy little text to be able to do the super jumps or the backwards flying whenever you're guarding an angel to someone, it was a lot of skill to just be able to do those things to make your gameplay look so much cooler. But now I'm on PC and everything is just like so optimized. I just have to hit shift whenever I want to do something, or hit control if I'm going out to just do my super jump. There's no skill anymore. It's just fucking brainless fucking gameplay, and that's not fun. One thing that I really like about Marvel Rivals is that a lot of the tank characters, they have a very low skill floor, but a very high skill ceiling. You're able to pick the character up and do a little bit with them, but once you understand the mechanics and you're understanding what you are able to do, you are able to really elevate that character. I'm going to use Thor as an example because not only is it the gameplay I have in the background, but I've also just put out 2 different guide videos that you should totally check out. But Thor has a very low skill floor, and that is, you just go in, you swing your hammer, and you do a butt fuck ton of damage. You go in your rune ability, and you also do a lot of damage. You are just a DPS tank with a bunch of health who can do a bunch of damage, and it's really fun. But if you're able to optimize this kit and really utilize the fact that you have your Thor Force and you can really rotate around that and really optimize the amount of time you're spending in your rune ability, you can do a whole lot of damage with Thor and honestly carry lobbies by yourself just by learning and optimizing your character's kit and being very skillful with his kit. But when I play Mercy, I just fly around and I hit shift, I hit control, I go upward, and that's really it. There's no like management, there's no like thought into it. It's just, oh, they're over there, well, I'm gonna fly over here. Oh, the enemy, they're looking over here, and I'm gonna stay on the ground. Or I'll fly up and I'll hide in like a corner or something. There's no like depth to any of the characters anymore. One of my favorite tanks in Overwatch 2 is Wrecking Ball. Wrecking Ball has a lot of depth to his kit. It's a very intricate character design, and I love him for that because it takes a lot of skill to be able to do good on that character. But when all of the other tanks are way easier and put out way more value, there's no reason to play Wrecking Ball, because it's not the only reason to play him is because you find him fun and you find him like you can get value on him. But if you like don't want to put any effort into learning his character, why would you? Because he fucking sucks if you aren't good with him. I can play him because I learned him in like 2018 or 2019, so like I know how to play that fucking character. But if I'm not, why would I even bother? There are just too many heroes in Overwatch that have the skill floor in the fucking ground, like in the ground. So if you want to play any of these like higher difficulty characters, you really need to spend time learning them, or else you're gonna get no value with them. Meanwhile, fucking little Timmy, who's holding his Xbox controller for the first time, can probably carry his team on whatever character he's deciding to play right now, just because the characters are just that fucking easy and they get that much value over such simple inputs. Like if I'm a tank player and I'm choosing which tank I want to play, for me, it's either I play Doomfist or I play Hazard. I'm going to use those for this example. Doomfist is my favorite tank in all of Overwatch 2 because I really love his kit, I really love how he works, I love his mechanics, I love everything about him. Hazard, I don't really enjoy just because he's very simple to play and he's very high value. You don't have to think a whole lot to get a bunch of kills with him. But because of that, it's very just appealing to play Hazard because I don't need to fucking think. I don't need to turn my brain on. I can just kind of have my like one eye closed and the other eye looking at my other monitor, and I can still top frag on Hazard. But if I'm playing Doomfist, I have to think more. I have to think about my engages. I have to think about my positioning. On Hazard, I just I jump in, hit a slash, put my right click up, and then walk away, and then shoot sometimes. Like, there's no intricacy to any of these hero designs. It's just overpowered bullshit without any depth. Unlike characters like, yeah, Doomfist, like Wrecking Ball. These characters, like, you have to use your fucking brain to be able to get kills with them, which is how every character in this game should be. One of my favorite things about Marvel Rivals is that you kind of have to have a brain no matter what character you're on. Sure, some characters are way easier than others, but you still need to like have your monitor turned on to be able to get value. When I play a character like Hulk, I have to think about my engages, I have to think about my positioning, I have to think about how I have to charge my jump, how to mitigate being stunned out of my jump, how to mitigate my damage with my bubble. There's a whole lot of thought into it. When I play Hazard, I just go in and kill everyone and then get out. That's not fun if I'm just a server admin. It looks like PvE content, honestly. If I'm just going in and killing everyone on Hazard, it looks like fucking PvE content. You know what I mean? And when you have a character so dominant in a video game, it becomes so stale and so lame to play because it just becomes the default setting. Because why would you want to play Doomfist and struggle and really have to fucking give it your all to be able to get half as much value as you would be playing when you're playing Hazard and you have your fucking eyes closed and you're jerking off with your left hand and playing one-handed, you know? There's not like any incentive to play like Doomfist or Wrecking Ball when I can just play Hazard and then win, you know? Sometimes I just want to win, and if I want to win, why would I play any of these harder heroes that have way more weaknesses and way more counterplay when I could just play Hazard and win? So not only do these characters need to be balanced around having a certain amount of skill required to be able to have a lot of value on them, but they also need to be balanced around the fact that they aren't just fucking carbon copies of characters that we already have. Now, I was a day one defender of Hazard because I thought that even though his abilities were mostly reused, that they were used in a creative way and that his kit could be something unique, given that we already saw these abilities, but in this new formula, they could be something new. Unfortunately, I was wrong, and his gameplay loop is kinda stale and is really repetitive and really lame. Now, characters who reuse ability concepts don't have to be bad. When Juno was given her speed ring, it was a very nice way of kind of letting Lucio not be the main fucking support run in every single competitive game. You kind of actually got to see some uniqueness. You got to see a Brig Juno backline, which was way different than always running a fucking Lucio. But when you have characters like Hazard, where the entire character is just reused abilities, it is so lame. And if Overwatch continues to release characters like this, I think that'll actually mean the death of the game. The best kind of heroes are the ones that are very simple to use, very simple to understand, but have a lot of deep complexity to their kit once you understand how they work. I'm going to bring up the most forgotten character in all of Overwatch that I failed to mention at the beginning, and that is Venture. Venture has two abilities. They have a burrow and a dash, and that leads to a lot of complexity in their kit because it is so simple that you have to think outside of the box given your limited tool set. Now, even though their addition to the game wasn't really liked by a lot of players because they are seen as annoying and they also don't have a big part in the overall story, I think they are one of the best hero designs that we've gotten from the Overwatch 2 devs, mainly because their kit is so simple. It's only two abilities and one passive. And this kind of hero design is what we need from this game. We need more heroes that are just simple. We don't need characters like Hazard who have 4 different abilities and like 2 different passives, or like Ramattra who has 2 different forms, so he has like multiple sets of abilities. We need more characters that are just, okay, they have a gun, they can burrow, they can dash, they have this amount of abilities. When Overwatch was getting started, every character had like 2 or 3 abilities. Now, like Juno has like 7 abilities and 2 different passives. I mean, like, these characters are just so overloaded in their kits that they just make no sense anymore. Overwatch's hero design is at its best when characters are given these simplistic kits but are able to have a lot of depth within that complexity. People really love playing Winston because even though he only has a jump and a bubble, you are able to do so much with his kit. You're able to do different types of jumps, able to do short jumps, long jumps, high jumps. You're able to do short ones, short hops. You're able to do so much with just the jump, and his bubble allows for a lot of different plays like shield jumping or shield bubble, like bubbling different abilities, or bubble dancing. There's a lot of things you can do with just 2 abilities, and that's why Winston is so fun, because even though you have only 2 things to do, you are able to do so much with those 2 abilities. Juno has a jump, she has a double jump, she has a speed ring, she has a glide, she has pulsers that either do damage or heal, she has an array that also does like damage. Like, there's so much to just worry about, and there's like, it's too much. When it comes to these heroes, more is less and less is more. And that is a very important ideal that the Overwatch devs have just kind of forgotten. And if they really implement these concepts back into the game and make these heroes more fun to play just because they have so simplistic kits that you're able to do a lot with, I think the game would maybe be more fun to play. Those are just some of my ideas, guys. I just wanted to get this out of my head because I've been thinking about it for a minute, and I just really love Overwatch. I really have a deep hole in my heart that Marvel Rivals is trying to fill, but at the end of the day, Overwatch is just something truly special, and I really hope the devs figure something out. But with that all being said, make sure to like and subscribe on this video, and have a good one. Goodbye.